Hello, hello, hello. This is the Vanilla JavaScript podcast. I'm Chris Ferdinandi. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, I wanted to do something a little bit different and talk about how I run my business. Today, I'm talking about why I run what I call a trust-based business. So, for the last year or so, I've offered location-based pricing. Customers who live in countries where the exchange rate and the local economy make my stuff more expensive relative to their income level than it would be for someone living in the US can purchase my products at a reduced price. And earlier this month, I made some improvements to the program, or earlier last month rather, that I wanted to talk about for just a minute. So I first heard about localized pricing from Wes Bos, who offers what he calls pricing parity on many of his courses. Implementing something like that for my products was on my to-do list for a long time. And then one day, I got an email from a student in Africa who was having issues getting his credit card to process. After chatting with him a bit, I learned that he had saved for months to purchase what would be, for someone living in the US, an impulse purchase that would cost them less than a day of work. For this student, though, it was the equivalent for over a week's salary, and this felt inherently unfair to me. I offered him a special discount code that reduced the price to be more in line with what someone in the US would pay as a percentage of their salary. And then I set about figuring out how to formalize this into an automated program for people around the globe. The most recent changes I've made automate this process. So historically, you used to have to enter a discount code to get the discount. So you would get a notification if you lived in that country. The system would detect it, show a little message at the top of the page that said it looks like you're from, let's say Kenya, where this stuff's a little expensive. Here's a code you can use to get 84% off. The problem is my system only allows you to use one code at a time. And so if you use that code, you couldn't take advantage of any other sales that were running at this time. And so it set up the system where people in the US and other high income countries would get a special discount, and then you would basically be paying the equivalent of full price, or you could decide to take the sale, but you couldn't do both. And that also felt unfair. So this new system now automatically applies a reduced price, tells you about it, and then you can also use any sale that's going on at the same time. And, I can talk about the details of how I implement this some other time. I'm going to link to an article in the show notes that kind of documents how I actually implement this stuff. But the bigger thing is whenever I talk about this, I always get a follow-up question that says something along the lines of like, well, can't someone just use a VPN based in a different location to get the discount and rip you off? And the answer is yes, they absolutely can. So the natural follow-up question is, what am I doing to stop that from happening? And the answer is honestly nothing. 2 years ago, I rolled out some other discounts on my products. These actually predate the location-based discounts. I have one for students and one for people who are part of underrepresented groups in technology. And I'll link to both of those in the show notes as well, so you can see what that looks like. And when I did this, I decided that rather than building in some sort of system that requires people to prove to me that they're a student or a member of an underrepresented group in tech, it was easier for both me and better for my customers if I operated from a place of trust. I've seen some places where you have to email a student ID to prove that you're a student, or email from a student email address, and then you can get that discount. But honestly, that feels like a pain in the ass. Like, that's a lot of work. It delays how long the time between you deciding you want to buy and when you can make a purchase, because you need to wait for me to get back to you. It's kind of a crappy system. So on both programs, I display this note down at the bottom that says, I'm using the honor system for this. I don't verify that you're actually a student or a member of an underrepresented group in technology, because I trust that you'll do the right thing. Personally, I believe that people are generally good and will do the right thing. And I find that if you treat people with trust, the way they behave and interact with you is inherently different than if you assume that they might do something wrong. In particular, I find that using this language around how I trust that you'll do the right thing makes people more likely to do the right thing. I actually have very few people use the student discount or the underrepresented group in tech discount, even though anybody could. And within the underrepresented group, in Tech Discount in particular, I actually have a note there about, what is an underrepresented group? I don't strictly define it, but it includes women, minorities, LGBTQ. And that if you feel like you're underrepresented in technology, you are. I've had so much help along the way. And so I really want to pay it forward and help other people come into the fold as much as I possibly can. Andy Bell, who's a friend of mine, shared similar thoughts around his and Hayden's Every Layout toolkit in a blog post, which I will also link to in the show notes along with Every Toolkit. He wrote, "We believe that most people are fundamentally honest, so we'd rather not punish them for what might happen because of a couple of bad actors." And I love that. It just resonates with me so strongly. And I don't think this is something that just a small, scrappy business of one can get away with either. Apple runs a robust student discount program, and they don't verify that you're a student before checkout. The benefits of running a business based on trust are huge. My customers and I have a deeper relationship. This is going to sound really corny, but it honestly feels more like an internet friendship or a mentoring relationship than a business customer transaction. People appreciate that I treat them like, people, and I just can't imagine running my business any other way. If you run a business or you're thinking about starting a business, I really hope you'll consider running it like this too. Running a trust-based business that treats people as humans, appreciates that most people are fundamentally good and will do the right thing if you treat them like people who are worthy of trust and respect. It's just a beautiful way to run a business. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to finally master JavaScript, head over to to vanillajsguides.com and check out my pocket guides and video courses. They're short, they're focused, they're made for beginners. You'll learn the ins and outs of a topic in under an hour. And if you do that and you happen to be a student or a member of an underrepresented group in technology, I hope that you'll take advantage of the discounts I offer. And yeah, that's it. See you next time. Cheers.